There's a very famous phrase in England, which is the way to make a small fortune from football is to start with a large fortune. VAR, I think in time it will prove to be a success, but I think at the moment there are some kinks in the process, and I think it will take time, but we'll get there in the end. I prefer human error. I think there's nothing wrong with human error. That teaches us more about life, and I think football is a great metaphor for life. Sometimes life is unfair, sometimes football is unfair. So my first book for adults was called 12 Yards. It was the art and psychology of the perfect penalty. As a proud Englishman, I've watched my team lose on penalty kicks far too many times. So I decided to write a book to solve the problem. And after the book came out, luckily England then won a penalty shootout for the first time at a World Cup. So it's really looking about how psychology and performing under pressure are linked to sport and the lessons we can take from that into our everyday lives as well. And my second book for adults is on a similar theme. It's called Edge: Leadership Secrets of Football's Top Thinkers, and it looks at some of football's best managers and coaches and explains the methods they use to improve players' talent, but the talent that is above the shoulder. So talent like resilience, cohesion, creativity, decision making and adaptability, skills that you can't see, that are intangible, that are crucial to success for players on the pitch, but also for all of us in our everyday lives. Every club will admit that they can improve their recruitment record. I mean, if you look at most Premier League clubs, I think the record of success in terms of their recruitment is around 25% of players that they sign go on to be considered themselves as a success. So what's going on with the 75% of players that they sign that are not deemed a success? I think that number can increase massively, and there are ways of doing that using technology, using data, using different analytical methods, but also using different scouting methods that can improve those numbers. And so I think the challenge for clubs is to stay relevant as a brand, and that requires some smart thinking in terms of what their identity is, what their strategy is. And in recent years you can see that Manchester United actually lost their identity after Sir Alex Ferguson left. They used to stand for certain things, they hired a whole load of new coaches, didn't work, and the fan base was disaffected. But since they've hired Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who understands the cultural DNA of that club and the identity of the club, there's been a renewed connection. I'm excited about the Women's World Cup this summer in France, and I think what we'll see is a whole new audience appearing to support the women's game, because there is a huge element of positivity around women's football. I think it can be a huge force for good in changing the way so many people think about gender equality, about gender imbalance, and I'm really excited about watching it and being part of a group that actually changes minds and changes behaviours about how we look at a different part of the sport. But we're finally seeing some of the best players from these three regions actually make it in big leagues. So Espanyol in La Liga have just signed a Chinese player, Wu Li, who's doing really well just in his first season. Next season we'll see US superstar Christian Pulisic play for Chelsea in a big league, so that's a big move for him. So we're slowly seeing these huge countries develop talent and seeing them prove themselves in the biggest leagues. So more might follow. We'll just have to wait and see. We are looking in the Middle East for talent, and there is talent here. It's undoubted there's talent. Sometimes the moves don't come off, like with Abdulrahman didn't come off, but that doesn't mean there isn't talent. But I think also what we're seeing with someone like Mo Salah is the power of the athlete almost transcends the sport. So he's been so successful at Liverpool that his success is not just about the goals he scores or the impact he has at that football club. He's shown that a hard-working, family-oriented, nice guy who is a Muslim can succeed in the UK at a time where most people would think that would be difficult to do. And I think that is more important than anything he actually achieves on the pitch.